We are live. We're now live.
All right. Well, thank all of you for coming in to watch our presentation today. I hope a lot of you do come in and watch this. Today we are presenting Something in the Water, Girls and Women's Tackle Football in Salt Lake City. We have 4 speakers who are involved in the football game in Salt Lake City. And my name is Russ Crawford. I teach history at Ohio Northern University in Ada, Ohio. And so I'll give a bit of an overview. How we're going to do the session. We will do our presentations and then have questions and answers later. If you want to put your questions in the chat box, feel free to do so, or we can do a little bit more live. I hope that everyone will mute their sound and maybe turn off their screen so that we can avoid any feedback. So let's get started. So this is Something in the Water, Girls and Women's Tackle Football in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is in, you can read the screen there as well as I can. We have 4 participants aside from me. We have Louise Bean of the Utah Falconz, Rick Rasmussen of the Utah Falconz, Laura Getz of the West Jordan Lightning, and Chris Sacco of the Utah Girls Tackle Football League. And I'm going to give a bit of an overview on women and girls football. I first noticed that women played football when I was writing my book, Le Football, A History of American Football in France, and I came across the Sparkle of Villeneuve-Saint-Georges in France. They were the first women's team there. And once I started learning that there were women playing football, which I was probably pretty much unaware of before then, I started seeing them everywhere. The first game I saw was in a suburb of Paris, the Molosses of Agnières-sur-Seine beat the Argocanes down south in France and for the women's championship there. Then I saw the Columbus Comets about 50 miles away from me, but there are women's teams everywhere in the country. I made it out to Salt Lake City to watch both the Utah Girls Tackle Football League games and the Utah Falconz. So women are playing all over the world. This is a map I forced my students to work on. And it shows that there are women's football teams and girls football teams all over the United States. They're in Canada, they're in Mexico, they're in South America, they're all over Europe, and even starting to grow in North Africa. They're in Russia, they're in Australia, all over the world. Women started playing football not long after men started. In 1896, there was a sort of a game. It wasn't much of a game. I think it was a bunch of people who got drunk and thought it would be a good idea to go play football. It'd be before the police interrupted the game and sent everyone home. They thought it was too dangerous. There was, you could argue that Ohio, so home of the NFL and also the home of women's football, there was a professional touring or barnstorming group in the 1930s that had some success, made some money until critics, including First Lady Lou Henry Hoover, the wife of Herbert Hoover, criticized them, and the places to play started drying up. They had a hard time finding places, and the experiment folded. So in the 1970s, Toledo, about 50 miles north of me, was the home of the Toledo Troopers. They won 6, I believe, National Women's Professional Football League, and then became the National Women's Football League championships. They had Linda Jefferson, their running back, who gained 4,092 yards and 285 carries, made it into magazine covers. She was on the network battle of the sexes. And so she gained a great deal of notoriety. So leagues have come and gone in women's football. The NWFL started by Sid Freeman, then the WPFL, the Independent Women's Football League, which lasted until 2018. The biggest one currently is the Women's Football Alliance that has somewhere around 66 teams. And all of these are a bit shaky because every year the number of teams and the number of leagues changes. The USWFL and the newest major league is the Women's National Football Conference, which the Utah Falconz are part of, has 20 teams. The United States has played women's football on the international stage. The International Federation of American Football has sponsored 3 championships. The U.S. has won all 3 of them. And in some cases, by such margins, the Germans in 2013 scored the first touchdown against the United States and tied the game 7-7 in the first quarter and ticked off the Americans, and they reeled off 100 straight points. So there was a need to maybe try to raise the game internationally. Samantha Rappaport, who now works for the NFL and is the woman responsible for helping women such as Katie Sowers. Let's see, oh man, now I'm forgetting the name. We have one, Callie Brownson, who coaches for the Browns. She is Rappaport is the woman responsible for helping get those opportunities to those women. And she set up the Women's World Games from 2014 to actually 2018. They stopped. That brought women from all over the world to the United States to learn the finer points of football. It worked somewhat well. The last championship, the U.S. defeated Canada only by 25 points, which was pretty small considering the other point margins of victory. So girls have also been playing tackle football since 2011, when the Manitoba Girls Football Association debuted. This was the brainchild of a couple of women who had played football in Manitoba and wanted their daughters to have the chance to play before they are in their 30s as they had been. So that was the first girls football league. And the next year, another one in Eastern Canada joined, New Brunswick Junior Girls Football League. Also in 2012, Sam Gordon of Salt Lake City had a video that went viral. She was playing on boys teams as a running back, and she ran all over the competition. And so she became an internet sensation. She got her picture on a box of Wheaties. So in 2015, the Utah Girls Tackle Football League began with a few teams and something like Louis or Chris can help me out here. But let's see, what was it, 100 or so, 40 or so athletes, something like that. Well, this season just started. They're up to 540 athletes playing girls tackle football, girls against girls. They've got 4 third and fourth grade teams, 4 fifth and sixth grade teams, 12 junior high, and 15 high school teams. So it's taken off, and that's what gave me the title for this presentation. Is there something in the water out there? Because we have all these young girls playing. There's at least 2 women's football teams in Salt Lake City. So something's going on out there. And I'll let our speakers talk about that in a moment. In 2016, the Indiana Girls Tackle Football League debuted with help from Chris. And I'm not sure it's still going, but it had its moment. So with that, that's pretty much the world. Actually, there are several more states that are talking about playing. Of course, COVID interrupted all of these plans. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker, Louise Bean. Let me see, let me pull up her bio. Where is it? Okay, so she was born and raised in Mesa, Arizona. She played high school sports and participated in the school choir, orchestra, and studied the piano. She played softball at Brigham Young University. She also graduated with a teaching degree, married to Dawn Bean. They have 3 children. It's her 10th year playing quarterback in women's tackle football and her 7th year with the Utah Falconz. She's one of the founding members of the organization. The team's overall record is 57-4 with 5 straight trips to the national championship, winning 2 of them. She was inducted into the Women's Football Hall of Fame in 2018, lives in Salt Lake City, is a teacher at a private residential high school for female teens, and she enjoys being a sporty wife, a mom, traveling, and the outdoors. So with that, I will turn it over to Louise Bean.
Hey, thanks, Russ, for putting this together and having me on. I was just going to give you my personal journey, which coincides with the football and the growth of the sport here in Utah. Do you mind putting on that first picture, Russ, that I sent you? All right, so this was the first team that came to Utah for women. This is a picture of myself and my oldest son, our oldest son, who's now 19. And the first team that came here was called the Utah Blitz. And I remember we were living in Billings, Montana, and we had found out that we were going to be transferring back to Salt Lake. We had lived here before. And I had always loved football and wanted to play tackle from a really young age. And I remember we used to get the Sports Illustrated. I remember that there was women's football in the South and the East, and there was an article. And I remember thinking, gosh, that would be so cool if I had that opportunity. And it was one of those things that it just wasn't in the West. And it was one of those things that you just think that'll never happen for me. And so we did not want to move back to Utah, but we did. And that ended up being fortuitous because I got to fulfill a dream that I'm still living. And so I was reading the newspaper here locally, and there was an article about tryouts for this team, the Utah Blitz. And my husband and I had played a lot of pickup football, being married and also dating. And when we did that, and I had really wanted him to try out for one of the local men's teams, and he didn't want to. So I said, when I found out about this, I said, well, I'm going. And he was fully supportive. So I played the first year with the Blitz, and we were horrible. We never won a game, and we hardly got first downs, and we hardly got touchdowns. But I was pretty addicted. So at the time I decided, okay, I'm going to play 3 years and try and get as good as I can, and then I'll just be done. Well, this is my 10th year playing. So that plan changed up a little bit. But I really liked everything about it. I'd played a lot of flag, and so tackle was totally different in the sense that it was really organized and it's very rigid and very disciplined. And so after this season with the Blitz, some of the coaches and several of the players decided, hey, we could do this better. And the ripple effect started. So the Utah Jinx came into being. And if you want to go to the next slide. So this is a picture of the Utah Jinx. This is myself and one of the running backs, and this girl's name is Tina Tella, and she actually still plays. And so that's why I included this. She's, we call her a Polynesian warrior, soft-spoken, but yet people should fear her, and they do after they learn about her. So she's a great individual and a great player. So I was with the Utah Jinx for 2.5 seasons. As soon as we became the Jinx, I mean, it's a lot of work to start a team. It's not just, having a little rec team. We really wanted to be something more than that. We always practiced 3 times a week. We travel. We were in a league. And we progressively got better. We won about 2/3 of our games the first couple years, and recruited more girls. And I don't know what's in the water in Utah. I think there's a perfect storm for a lot of things. Utah is a younger population state. It's a pretty healthy state. It's an outdoorsy state. There's not a ton of people in Utah. There's just over 3 million people. There's not a lot of professional sports. We just have professional soccer and professional football, professional basketball. We now have a professional rugby team. We have AAA baseball. So I just think it was a perfect time for it. And at the end of, I think during the second and third year, I can't remember exactly, but that's about the time that I ran into Coach Rick at a gym and recruited him to come get involved. We were looking for an offensive coach at the time, and he had heard about the Jinx, and we just started up a conversation. So there's not too many times in my life where I feel like that I was meant to meet certain people, but I feel like from day one I was meant to meet Coach Rick, and I'm sure he'll have more to say about his involvement in the game and the sport here in Utah. But and it just kept growing. It just kept the ripple effect of just everything. You just throw a rock in a pond and it just has a ripple effect. And so after those 3 years with the Jinx, once again, a group of us thought we could do it better and be more successful and have it be a better experience for the women that were involved. And you only have to be 18 to play. So we have all those years we've had the diversity in your ages and the type of people that play. And I played college sports, and you're all about the same age. So that was one of the cool things about it, is just having so many different people and different walks of life and the camaraderie. And I can say that when I started playing, our youngest was a year old, and it completely saved me in a mental aspect of just being a mom and having young children and having an outlet to and anyone who plays sports can probably understand that. But anyway, so then a group of us worked really hard and started the Utah Falconz. And the Falconz is based upon, I'd say we were an offshoot in philosophy and of the Air Force Academy. And we're the Falconz, just like the Air Force Academy, and the same colors. And our coaches were from the academy. And so we have an honor code. We have a belief system of holding yourself to a higher standard than just regular folks. And so I think that helps people to rise up and to raise the bar and to become the best that you can be. So this is the 7th year, maybe 8th. I'm still trying to figure out the COVID year. But we've been really successful with a lot of work on just so many people, just countless people, even people that aren't playing still. In 2017, Utah hosted the national championship for the league. And this is a picture of myself, and this is the governor on the left who came and did the coin flip. And that is Governor Herbert, who's now not the governor anymore, but that is Wayne Niederhauser, who's behind, and he was president of the Senate at the time. So it was a great event here in Utah. And a lot of people were involved, and we had a lot of support. And the state now, for the last 3 years, has also sponsored the team. And I believe that we are the only team in women's football that's being sponsored by the state. And that's a big deal. And they believe in promoting and helping Utah's sports grow for women. And you got to have that support, and you got to have that desire by the leaders of the state and by others to support you and promote you. And I've never made any money playing the sport. I've paid a lot of money to play the sport. And I'm not one of those people that feels like I should get Great. It would be great if I got paid to play, but I've sure had a lot of fun and I've worked really hard. This is to be successful, and so have a lot of people and coaches and owners and admin. So this is a picture of one of the championships that we won. This is my sister on the right, who played wide receiver, and I got to play with her for a few years, and we never had played sports together except like summer softball. And so, like I said, the choice to play football had a lot of far-reaching effects. It just has grown here in Utah. I got to do something with my sister. My kids have grown up with me playing football. Our youngest, who's now 12, has no idea what it's like for his mom not to play football. And so it kept going. We kept having just more opportunities. This is just a picture of, I got to go to play a game in Cancun with an American team. And so I would say just the water here in Utah tastes really good. On the Falconz, we talk about a secret sauce that people get addicted to. And so for me personally, football has just been a great opportunity, great experience, been super hard, super fun, super stressful. And some days I wished I wasn't still doing it, and other days I'm really glad I'm still doing it. So it's been a great chance, and I wouldn't change almost anything about it, but it's been a great journey. And so, and I know Chris Sacco, I used to play with her, and obviously Coach Rick is our head coach. And so that is my personal journey, and glad I'm still a part of it. And I'm lucky in a lot of ways that I got connected with the people that I got connected with, and obviously knowing Russ and his involvement with history and football. So that is my part in my journey, Russ.
All right. Thank you, Louise. Next, we'll have Rick Rasmussen, who's the head coach of the Utah Falconz. Rasmussen was an Air Force Academy graduate, a pilot in the Air Force. He coached high school football for a little over a decade, and then he can tell you how he came to be the coach of the Falconz.
Well, thank you for coming today. First off, let me admit that I am a history major. I was a military history major. It wasn't my first choice. In fact, it was my 8th choice. But the other 7 majors all asked me to move on down the hall at one time or another. And I landed in history, and I've loved every minute of it. My journey to women's football, like Russ spoke to, I coached high school football for 14 years. But I've had both my hips replaced, and I was in the gym rehabbing when I saw Bean. I know she has a first name, but I don't use it. But I saw Bean in the gym. I noticed the shirt. She asked if I'd come out and help him a little bit, and I really didn't want to. That ship had sort of sailed in my life. But I made the mistake of showing up, and I've been there ever since. I think this is my 10th year of coaching women. I did a couple years with the Jinx before we started the Falconz. There is something in the water out here with sports because of our topography and the nature of the people that live here. Like Louise said, we are the youngest state in the nation. Athletics and outdoor activities are huge. So it's a big sporty area. And so when you think about it, I think there are roughly 120 odd adult women football teams in the United States, with the exception of one team in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We come from the second smallest area population-wise. In fact, there are teams that come from cities that have 3, 4, 5 times the population in the city we have in the entire state. So our approach to football is a little bit different because we're certainly not the biggest, and we're generally not the fastest. But what we are is like army ants. There's a lot of us. I think our roster right now for this season is 51. where the average team we play is lucky to have 25 or 26. And we, again, like Bean mentioned, we've modeled our program after the Air Force Academy to take advantage of those things which we are as good as anybody out, which is discipline, intelligence, dedication, conditioning. So those are the approaches we take to the game when we're playing a team from Denver or Pittsburgh or Phoenix, LA. So we've got to level the playing field just a little bit. And we do that, I think, through our coaches and our athletes. Our coaches are all very, very experienced coaches. We've got one coach that played in the NFL. He's coached high school for 30 years. Another coach that has coached at 2 universities. And everybody on our senior staff have extensive high school boys coaching experience. Now, we also have younger coaches because a couple of us are getting a little long in the tooth, and we're trying to give all that information to the next generation, because the sport needs good coaches, because most of our players did not have the opportunity to play as kids, like is currently the case. And we are very happy that for the first time, a girl that had played in the youth girls league is on our team and is going to actually start this year as a 19-year-old rookie. And that's pretty unusual. First, that a rookie could start for us and a 19-year-old. So the youth sports are really starting to affect the adult sport. One other thing that we do, I think, slightly different than other teams is we coach our women like we would coach boys or young men. There's no difference. We're very organized, like being intimated, and that's probably that's a fault of mine coming from the military. So we're on time, on schedule with the game plan. But what we also have are coaches that can teach people who may not understand anything about the game. Most of the young ladies I get their first year, they're just not good. They've never played the sport. They don't understand the sport. You ask them to chip block off to the linebacker, and you may as well be speaking Russian. So one of the things I first noticed is, like you see in those cartoons, or I should say back in the day cartoons, the question marks appear over the players' heads, and you can see it just big as day, and then you have to reteach. But I've enjoyed every minute of coaching. This is my last year of coaching women. I have aged out. At least I believe I've aged out. And but I think we've set a standard for a small market team to be able to compete on a national level. So adult women's football is not going to go away. It just depends how mainstream it becomes. If we can attract sponsors across the spectrum, then that's what we'll do. So thank you.
All right, thank you. So our next speaker is Chris Sacco. Started with the Utah Jinx, played for the Falcons briefly in 2015, but that was the same year that the Utah Girls Tackle Football League started up. So began there with Sam Gordon and her dad, Brent Gordon. Taught swimming for 20 years and gives therapy for children and adults with CP and people with spinal cord injuries. Let me see. Knew it was important to start a program with youth, so decided to start that youth girls sport program. And if you give me a moment here, I will stop sharing for a moment, and I will find a picture of Chris with the team at the Pro Bowl, and she can tell you about that. All right, Chris.
Hello. So, speaking of football, I'm just so thankful for you, Russ, for, allowing us this opportunity to be able to speak. I didn't know anything about football at all. And it was a mutual friend of mine and Beans that actually brought me to the Utah Jinx. It was like a meeting and stuff. And I even said, I'm not going to sign up. There's no way. I don't know a thing about football. I don't even watch it. I'm a gymnast. I'm a swimmer. Next thing you know, I signed up and I ended up playing for the Jinx for like 3 years. And I had to learn how to run the right way. Like I was terrified, but thanks to Bean and Coach Rick, they really helped me. So when the Falconz came about, I decided to join the Falconz for a little bit, but then I was coaching a boys team here in Utah, and it was like a junior high age group. And there was a bunch of girls that came up to me, and I was like, you guys should go play with the boys. They're like, we don't want to play with the boys, but if you started a girls club, we would play. And it takes me back to swimming, how important it is for, youth sports to be about in general, and what muscle memory does. Like as a therapist, I know, working with my kids with cerebral palsy and different things, how healing, repetition is, and muscle memory and stuff like that, and how quickly people can pick it up. So I was like, well, if the women can learn the sport of football and other sports and learn muscle memory, I don't see why girls can't have their own club. That's what I called it then. So I started kind of recruiting girls, and then I was posting on Facebook, and next thing you know, I shared something with Sam Gordon's dad, and I think it was like on her page, and Brent Gordon reached out to me, and he's like, well, if I'm going to sign my daughter up, it's not going to be a club. It's going to be a league. And this was in 2015. And I was like, okay. I was like, so do you want to start this league next spring? Because the boys take up all the fields and the refs in the fall. And that's when they run the women's program. And that would give me another year to play on a women's team, with the Falconz. And he's like, no, we're going to start in 2 months. And I was like, no, I don't even know. I think it was less than 2 months. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, how are we going to start a league in 2 months? Like, and next thing you know, he's like, let's start with 50 girls, 5th and 6th graders, which you guys will get to meet Laura here shortly. She was in that pack of the first 50 girls, making history, which I would say herstory. And we put the 50 girls, we sent out like an email flyer to the school districts. And next thing you know, like overnight, it was like 2 days before the orientation that we were supposed to launch this league and meet with the parents. 2 days before we had our 50 girls, and we were able to launch the league. So I had to hang up my pads and helmet, and that was really tough for me. But, I've always been a swim coach, swimming instructor, teacher, mentor, and I just felt like I had to take this path. And I'm so grateful because we're now in season 7 with the Utah Girls Tackle Football League, and we have about 560 girls. We're going to end up with a little over 700 here in a couple of weeks, because we get a lot of last minute people that join, and we're 4th through 12th grade. I find so much joy in just seeing the girls score their first touchdown, seeing the parents' faces, the reaction, like just being in, and I have a lot of media ask, like, why did you do this in Utah? Why didn't this happen in Texas? Or, California, like, why Utah? Why not? You know what I mean? There is something in the water. Like, I don't know why Utah has that label. Like, just because we don't have an NFL team here doesn't mean that our youth programs aren't awesome. So I feel like Utah with the Falconz and the other teams and the girls league, we have been making a lot of history, and my goal is for this to grow throughout the United States. So these girls, they come from all different walks of life, all different age groups. And the fact that they can play football on their own team with other girls and not have to join the boys teams, because the guys are built differently and it can be intimidating. And Laura will go over that a little bit because she played high school football with the boys and played in our girls league since she was in the 5th grade. And now I believe she's a senior. She'll tell you. I don't remember if she's a junior or senior. I want her to be a junior because I really don't want her to grow up. So that's the thing. I have grown attached to the families in this league, and I have grown attached to the refs, the coaches, the girls, the family vibe. I mean, we are one big family. Our board members do a phenomenal job, but the main thing is we couldn't have done it without the parents. Like the parents signing their daughters up. Not only that, we couldn't have done it without the girls dreaming to be able to play football. And I know Louise Bean had played for several years, and I'm pretty sure she would have joined the girls league as well if when she was little, if it was there. So as for Indiana Girls Tackle Football League, I'm not sure what happened there, but they did launch, if I remember correctly, at least 3 seasons. So I'm going to contact them and see if we can help them launch seasons. But my main goal is to start a program to where other states can start youth leagues, because I really feel like it's in the kids to be able to grow into colleges and eventually, hopefully, a women's NFL. I'm sticking with that story because that's a dream to see. I always have visions I'm very visionary. So it's awesome. And I'm just trying to figure out anything else. The girls also got to experience going to the Pro Bowl in Florida last year. And that was neat. That was really neat. They got to play during the halftime show. We only had like a week, 2 weeks of practices to prep for it. We went to Florida. We had a great time. Laura can talk about that because she had experienced it. I'm also coaching a team this year, and I coached last year. It's a high school age group team. I stepped down as president like 2-3 years ago, so I can coach and, kind of relax. So yeah, that's my experience with the girls tackle football. I just want to keep seeing it grow. And I appreciate you guys for having me.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Our final speaker is Laura Getz. And let me see, I should have a picture of her here. It's maybe embarrassing, but this is Laura as a 5th grader. If we go back to the other picture, this was Laura down here in the first row, second from the left. And let's see, there we have her playing quarterback. She is a junior quarterback for the West Jordan Lightning. As Chris said, she also played on boys teams, and played at the Pro Bowl last year. And she was one of the founding members of the Utah Girls Tackle Football League. So with that, I'll turn it over to Laura.
Hi, my name's Laura Gates. I started playing football in 5th grade when I was 10 years old, and I knew nothing about football. I started playing because one day my brother signed up to play in the boys' league, in the boys' little league, and I went to go fit his pads for him. he was gone, and the person fitting my pads asked if I was playing. And I said, no, girls can't play. And he's like, yes, they can. So the next year I decided to play with the boys. And one day at school I saw a flyer for the girls league, and I brought it home, and that was like the perfect opportunity for me to be able to learn the game of football and understand it more, so that I'll be more prepared for the boys who are already ahead of me. And so my first year I wasn't very good. We didn't win any games, and I was very little. And then I went to play in the Ute League with the boys, and I made the A team my first year. And I continued to play both in the girls and boys league. I play quarterback and safety in the girls league, and then in the boys I played running back and linebacker. So they're very different, but it was a lot of fun. The girls league is a lot more fun in my opinion than the boys, because it's a different connection with the people with your same gender. You're a lot closer, you can talk about things, you have jokes, you're fun, you're more comfortable in a sense just because they're like you. And so then I played in the boys' high school team. I was the only girl in the entire district. And I still play in the girls' league. I'm on the high school team for West Jordan. And I have played for 7 years. And I stopped playing with the boys' high school team last year. They were starting to get stronger and bigger than me, and even though I was still doing my best, they were naturally better. And so I went to the Pro Bowl last year. I was invited as one of the 22 girls that went to Florida, and I played quarterback and safety, and I got to play with 11 different girls on my team. And I didn't know a lot of them, but just because we were all bonding over football and this is something that we were excited about, I made like 10 new friends. And we bonded just like that over the fact that we were playing football and we were girls. And it was super exciting. There were a lot of opportunities, and even after the game in Florida, people were asking for autographs or for pictures with us, and there was a lot of positive feedback from it. The fans that were in the stands were super excited, and it kind of showed all of us girls that there is support from the NFL and from other people that would want to watch girls play football, and that we don't have to be abnormal for playing it just because we're a girl. I testified in the lawsuit that Brent Gordon has. And I testified because I feel like there should be a girls' team to give opportunity to girls that want to play and that are intimidated by playing with the boys. And there would be so much more participation if there was a girls' team at every high school. And it would be so much fun and so much better. I hope that there is a girls' football team to come in the high schools, and hopefully that's relatively soon in the future. Be cool if my little sister could play girls' high school football at the high school that she goes to. But I'm very excited for all these opportunities that come with showing that girls can play at the same level that boys can. And it's really cool because every year there will be new girls that have never played before. And we essentially have to start over at the beginning every single year, like learn how to tackle, learn what the game is, what are first downs, what are some things that you have to read during the game. And it's really cool to see how people will grow from not knowing anything to knowing what they need to do and doing it at a relatively good way. So it's really cool. There's even 4 new girls on my team this year that have never played, barely even watched football, and they're learning really fast, and they want to play because they've seen other girls play. And that's really cool that we can bring in other girls that have never thought of playing football just because they seem somewhat interested. And yeah, that's all I can think of.
All right. Thank you, Laura Gates. I apologize for messing up your last name.
It's okay.
And let's see, we have a video here. Oh, we had it here. Here we go. Oh, that was a YouTube. Never mind. I don't know what I'm doing, obviously.
Rules football right here. 1, 2, 3, football!
This is the teams at the Pro Bowl last year. Laura, just a quick question for you. What did it feel like I saw you throw maybe 2 touchdown passes there. What did it feel like to have that many people cheering for you when you did something good?
It was insane. The fact that there were so many people there and that they got that excited for us was a really amazing feeling. And I was super happy. And I just remember after throwing those or having a good play, or even having somebody else have a good play and hearing those people cheering, that I was just smiling the entire time and trying to pay attention. But it was just really cool and an adrenaline rush for sure.
Excellent. All right. We have another video here. And here I go again. Let's see. Yes, here it is. This one was made for the Utah Falconz. Let me stop sharing my screen. So, is there anybody out there that has any questions? Let me put my video on, I guess. Do we have anybody who has any questions of any of our speakers? All right, yep. All right, well, I got a few questions. Louise or Rick, you can talk about the visibility you have in Salt Lake City. You're one of the few teams I know of that has a billboard put up there.
Yeah, we do. We've got pretty good support. I guess in the women's programs across the country, we probably have the largest fan base. We average somewhere around 900 per game. And the championship game a couple years ago, we hosted. I think we had 2,200, including the governor and the president of the Senate. So it's kind of a big deal out here for us. And I think the women represent the sport well and encourage the younger girls to begin playing. Bean, you got anything to add?
I would only say also that I think how we market ourselves as a team and in our community is really effective and important. Obviously, we're all different. Some of us are married, some of us have kids, some of us are single. And I think anytime you market a product, I think you're trying to, we're a family-friendly state, we're an outdoor state, and we try and market ourselves to just being good women and good citizens. But, we're not just women, we're also men that are playing, that are coaching. And so we're not just marketing ourselves as just a women's team, we're marketing ourselves as an organization that tries to play good football, play good sport. Also, I'm not on the bandwagon of always just the women's lib or the women's rights kind of thing, because there's so many of us that are just from all different walks of life. And we're trying to better ourselves as people on the team, because we have coaches that are men and women coaches and women players. And so I think that speaks to a lot of people in our city that we're trying to have a good product, good experience when people come to the games, and just try and hold ourselves accountable to being the best people that we can be. Not just the best women or the best men, but just the best people, the best human beings. And I think a lot of that could give credit to Coach Rick and the other coaches, and just that's the expectation, that we're just a hodgepodge of people. And so I think that's a big deal in our state. We don't jump on a lot of social agendas or things like that, because we all have different opinions. We all have different feelings. So if we were to market ourselves on social media and say, we're just this, or we're just this, or we only support this, that would be a disservice to everyone else on the team and all their feelings and their beliefs and their things that they support. So really hats off to our admin and to the coaches to just be that type of organization.
All right. Chris, the Utah Girls Tackle Football League has gotten fairly good publicity. Not all of it good. You started up your league right in the middle, it seems, of the concussion crisis. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, but real quick, thanks Bean for adding that people thing in. I really like that, because even with our league, like, I'm getting a little emotional here just by that, because it's not just a girls league. We have the refs, the coaches, men and women, the families, the parents, grandparents. Like that was a big thing. Like, I think I'm going to have to steal that for our league too, because it was, yeah, I mean, it really just touched my heart the way you mentioned that. Like, everybody from different walks of life. It was awesome. So yeah, Russ, oh my gosh, I forgot what you asked. I was so touched and moved by what Bean had said. Like, I get really emotionally involved, you can tell.
Well, when you started up your league, you got quite a bit of publicity. Not all of it great, because you also started the league in the midst of the concussion crisis. So you want to talk about that publicity?
Yeah, so it was tough. Like when we first started, I know that it was called Outside the Lines, and it was ESPN. They came and did some interviews on some of our girls, and they interviewed Brent and I for several hours when they were here, and we kind of got blindsided. We thought they were going to do the little set of things on our league. They did a little bit, but it was mostly about concussions. And then they ended up getting a doctor on and said, well, this is just a terrible idea. That's exactly what the doctor said. He's like, this is just going to create more concussions, and it's a horrible idea that people shouldn't start until they're the age of 11. Well, technically that's when we started, with 5th and 6th graders, 11 and up. So it was kind of weird. But the positive thing about that was one of the girls, Gracie Merrill, they had interviewed, and she was in our first set of 50 girls. She was wearing a Peyton Manning jersey, and Peyton Manning saw that. He saw the Outside the Lines thing, and he sent her a picture, a signature, and all that stuff. And then that ended up going viral. So it was kind of a positive thing in that light. But most of the media and stuff we got was, I would have to say, it was pretty balanced. I mean, we got bad and good. The thing about our league is we don't do special teams. So we also got some compliments from, Samantha Rappaport being involved when she was over the safety of USA Football. I guess USA Football had loved how we set things up, especially those first few years when it was just 8v8. We weren't doing special teams. We still don't do special teams because it prevents concussions. So they really liked our approach. So we got a lot of positive feedback there. Knock on wood, we hardly get any concussions in our league. Even with the close to 600-700 girls we have, like, I hardly hear about concussions. And I really feel that it's because we don't do special teams. As much as some people say, the parents will be like, why? We're doing our best to keep them safe and to learn about the sport. So it was a lot. It was very overwhelming that first year. And I had to not read the comments. I think it was the comments on social media when we would get a news article posted about how we launched our league. Like, people were really rude. Like, girls belong in the kitchen. They're going to get hurt. They're not built to play football. Football's a man's sport. Like, we heard it all. And I'm sure, and Rick remember, like, from a few years ago, like being said, it's really hard. It was really hard to get the advertising and starting women's teams and stuff like that. But everybody's come a long way from that. And I know the women's teams went through that as well, and still do probably. So it's good. I mean, we're just going to keep being pioneers for this.
Excellent. So Laura, how many of your fellow students at West Jordan High School have been interviewed by the Salt Lake Tribune? Has that raised your profile in your school?
Not at all. A lot of people, I don't think anybody even knows about it. There's a lot of my teammates that don't even know about it, and I don't think it's something that I should expect to be different because of that opportunity that I got.
Okay. Well, what about playing in the Pro Bowl halftime? Has that raised your visibility any? Can you just hear the guys talking about football and say, yeah, I played the Pro Bowl halftime. How about you?
It was definitely really cool. They announced it at my school. One of my coaches wrote a little announcement to give to the assistant principal to announce at the school. And so they announced it, and a couple teachers talked to me about it, and they were really surprised and asked me more about details and more about the league. And I feel like that's a good conversation starter, to hear that I went to the Pro Bowl and I was one of the 22 girls, and then they start asking about the league, and then more people will start asking about the league. My teammates were proud of me, I think. Didn't really get a lot from them. But I've had a lot of people actually recognize me or say, hey, you were the one girl that was in the Pro Bowl, or I'll wear my Pro Bowl jacket sometimes around places and they'll be like, you were in the halftime Pro Bowl show. And there's a lot of people that know about it, and know about the girls that were in it. So that's really good and really interesting to hear when you're just walking around and have somebody to come up to you and be like, hey, I saw that halftime show, and it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, and if you made the morning announcements, that's sort of an important thing in high school, in a good way.
Yeah.
So, with your being in the Pro Bowl, and did you get to meet any NFL players?
We didn't get to meet any, but we did get the opportunity to go to the AFC, NFC practices. So we got to go watch them, and some of them signed our stuff, which was really cool. But we didn't really get to talk to them, or the closest we got was being on the same sideline as them when we were leaving the field. And that was really cool because they would stand in the line and they gave us high fives as we were leaving. So that was really cool that they were supporting us.
Excellent. Did you sign any autographs yourself?
I did. I got to sign a bunch of shirts and pictures and a bunch of different things.
Nice. All right. So with the UGTFL players in the Pro Bowl, Sam Gordon has been in NFL commercials during the Super Bowl. The woman whose name I can't remember now kicked a field goal in the SEC. So women's football seems to be gaining more visibility, although it still struggles. A regular team in anywhere has a hard time getting any recognition, but it seems to be happening more often. Does anybody want to address that?
I will. I remember when hearing there were other girls playing football like me was actually surprising. I was like, wait, really? And even though I was playing, it was still an uncommon thing for me to hear that other girls were also playing, and that they were playing on boys teams or somewhere else other than the girls league. And now when I hear it, it's normal. Or when I see them playing on boys teams, it's normal for me now. And it's not like a second thought of there's a girl on a boys team or there's a girl over here doing this. And I think it's really cool how it has evolved from being not very well known to being known now. And when I was little, I would talk to adults or other people and they'd ask like what sports I'd play, if it was dance or gymnastics. And I'd be like, no, football. And they'd be surprised and no way. And it kind of give me a weird look. But now when people I don't know ask what sports I play and I say football, they're like, yeah, cool. Like it's becoming more and more known. And that's something that we can take advantage of to push even more.
Hey, Russ, I'll just add really quick. In my 10 years of playing, it's come a long way in just perceptions. But I also didn't care what the perception was at the beginning because I really wanted to play. And I've always just thought, hey, it's just a game. Anyone can play a game and anyone can learn it. I didn't always tell people that I was playing. I just kind of kept that to myself. But now it's more cool, or it's more accepted, like Lauren said, and it's more quote okay, even though she's doing it because she likes it. I'm doing it because I like it. And if people don't want it, or they don't care, if they want to have an opinion about it, I'll be like, okay, that's your opinion, but I'm sure having a whole lot of fun while you're sitting at home eating Oreos, or watching TV or whatever, that kind of thing. So but it does help when men come to practices, and we've had a lot of different coaches or high school coaches, and I've been in a lot of events, and I've helped manage some other events. It is cool, I'm not going to lie, when people are like, wow, you guys are good. And so my whole big thing is if the product was good, then I could feel proud about it. I didn't feel proud about it my first year, not at all. It was embarrassing. So as long as the product's good, then people are going to come, and they're going to appreciate it, and you're going to feel validated. So getting to be a good product is the key, even if I'm still having fun. But I think in Lauren's case, she's gonna see all kinds of really cool effects just as she gets older, and if she wants to continue playing football, of just people that have been doing it for a while and paving the way. And Chris and her people got it going, so hats off to them. But just more awareness makes it cooler, but it still doesn't mean that I haven't had fun. So
All right. All right, I see we got some attendees. Do any of you guys have any questions? Do any of you? If you can't see that, we have, oops, one just left. We have 5 attendees, or 4 attendees now. Any questions out there in Radio Land? Well, I'm not hearing any, so let's see, we have a few minutes left. Does anyone, one question I wanted to ask Laura. You mentioned the lawsuit that you testified in. Could you explain what the lawsuit's about?
Yeah, the lawsuit's about Title IX, equal rights and equal opportunity. So Brent Gordon and his legal team were suing the Jordan and Granite school districts to have girls high school football at their schools. And I testified about my experience playing with the boys and kind of showed why we need a girls team. And there were also other girls in the league that testified about how they felt or different scenarios. And the main point for me testifying was, like I said, showing why there should be a girls team, and kind of talked about different experiences and everything. And they were trying to show the court that, hey, these are all the reasons that we need a girls team. And they showed kind of how excluding boys teams were, from everything to like chanting brotherhood, or even like on their school websites where it says boys football. They say that boys football is a co-ed sport, and that it does provide girls with the opportunity to play. And we were trying to show like, hey, golf has boys and girls team, basketball, soccer, everything else but football. And we were trying to show them why they were wrong with having a co-ed football team.
Okay. And as I recall, your side won the first court case, is that correct?
The first one that just barely closed.
Trial, you won you got a judgment from the judge that your case was correct. Wasn't that so?
No.
Maybe on appeal then? I know I read about your side, the plaintiffs winning one round.
Yeah, the judge said that the evidence that we brought in from like surveys showed that there was enough interest that girls wanted to play. And so we had to push that even further and show even more evidence.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll ask each of you, is there anything that has occurred to you after you finished talking that you would like to mention about your experiences playing, coaching, directing? Chris?
Yeah, sorry, it just took a second. I was like, where's that? I I think about the lawsuit. I just feel, yeah, we lost, but at the same time, I don't feel like these girls are going to give up. Like, I just feel like it's just going to keep going. And then, of course, we go back to the NFL with Samantha Rappaport giving these women, Callie Brownson, Katie Sowers, there's several other women, opportunity in the NFL. I feel like that's also a start, you know. And then there's a lot of stuff going on with colleges and people just paving the way. And then in women's football and in the youth, I feel like it's just all going to come together because we have 15 high school teams within our league. And Laura's right. I mean, and the judge was right. We have proof that there are women of enough interest that will play in their school. But I feel like it's just going to take more time, and it might be where Laura's little sister will get to be able to experience that. And Laura would be the one to pave the way, and Sam and all the rest of the girls. But I also feel strongly that it needs to happen too in other states. Like Utah, we are growing, but we also need, I feel like we need some girls programs in other states, not just flag. So again, I go back to that same goal where I want to help launch leagues in other states or one big program where they can, like a Pop Warner for girls or something. So I'm not going to give up. I know they're not going to give up. So that's the one thing. I know the women aren't going to give up. We just got to keep going.
Okay. Are there any questions out there from our attendees? I know I recently read some stories about a Chicago girls tackle football league. There's talk of one in Atlanta, maybe one in Texas. Of course, COVID has disrupted everything, but so at least it seems that when you offer girls or women a chance to play football, you know, it's the most popular sport in the United States, certainly. But anywhere around the world, it seems the women will show up and play if you give them a chance. I actually talked to a woman in Copenhagen, Denmark, that was interested in starting a girls tackle football league. So,
Russ, can I add one last thing?
yeah.
The fact that women are willing to pay a lot of money all over the world where they live or to travel to play football is pretty impressive to me. I mean, I've traveled to play football and paid the money. We have girls on our team this year that spend their own money to commute to play. And it's been like that for the last 3 or 4 years. I know there's girls in Europe that spend a lot of money to come live in the States to play for a season because American football is considered just higher quality. So I don't know. It's pretty amazing to me that people are willing to do that. And there must be, like you said, something in the water. It's not just in Utah. It's kind of all over the place. And there's over 100 teams, like you said, just in the States. So anyway, it's something kind of cool, something unique.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is see, is the host now. Okay. There is sort of a sisterhood of traveling shoulder pads out there. There are American women who've gone to play in Finland. There's Italian, British, German, Finnish women who've come to play in the United States. Let's see, did you have a Japanese player on the Falcons?
We got everybody, but she didn't travel or she didn't come move here to play, but we got them all.
All right. All right.
Coach Rick's like Danish, you know.
Yeah.
We've got, we had a girl from Sweden play for us 2 years ago. And we have 2 girls that are coming from France to play with us this season.
What are their names?
Emmeline and Sophie.
Ayo? Sophie Ayo?
There's 52 of them. Sophie. That's all I know.
Just I interviewed a woman from the southern part of France, Sophie Ayo. She was a running back and very good.
Yeah, no running back. This Sophie is a lineman, and Emmeline's a wide receiver.
Okay, interesting. All right. Well, we're running out of time. Is there anybody that has any questions? Or do any of the rest of you have any anything else you'd like to add?